Hello and welcome to the BloodStream podcast, a show serving the greater bleeding disorders community, brought to you by Believe Limited and BloodStream Media, and made possible thanks to our presenting sponsor, Takeda. I am your patient advocate and host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I am your healthcare advocate, nonprofit nerd, and your other host, Amy Board, reminding you to please speak with a healthcare professional before making any of those treatment decisions.
On today's show, climbing the 7 summits to raise awareness.
What?
We know a thing or two about that.
We do?
Well, Maia Meier joins the podcast to talk about her project, Project Elevate Her, to talk about her campaign to raise awareness for women and girls with bleeding disorders.
Woo!
We've got Maia and the 7 summits and more on today's episode. Welcome to BloodStream.
Listeners, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the BloodStream podcast wherever you get those podcasts to get this thing delivered right to your podcast player, your phone, all of those situations, the moment it goes live. Which is cool.
It is cool. And if people are only listening, they just missed out on a wonderful bit of choreography from Amy Board. So I don't know if you're not checking out the show on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify video, maybe, I don't know, but you should, because Amy's just delivering fastball after fastball these days.
You're welcome. You're welcome, listener.
I also want to remind you, dear listeners, that the BloodStream podcast is made possible by our presenting sponsor, Takeda.
Takeda!
Yes, that's right, Takeda. Takeda's got this website, bleedingdisorders.com, where you can learn all about Takeda's resources for and commitment to the bleeding disorders community. Takeda, Amy, believes in a world free of bleeds.
As do I.
Alignment.
Alignment.
And they are dedicated more than ever in their efforts to offer a wide range of programs and support to help patients throughout their treatment journey, wherever on that journey they may be. You can learn more by simply visiting bleedingdisorders.com. One more time, that's bleedingdisorders.com. And for their founding and ongoing support of the BloodStream podcast, I would just like to say thanks, Takeda.
Thank you, Takeda.
All right. Well, here we are, May 22nd episode. Somehow we are almost through with May.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Heading into the summer, which is crazy.
Which is crazy. And one of the things taking place this summer, as you and I well know, even though you're looking at me, where are you going with this?
Because I feel like you're doing these things and I'm doing these things. So I'm looking to see what things you're going to bring up.
More choreography from Amy. She took one hand and sort of did a breaststroke gesture in one direction and then did the other hand and did breaststroke in the other direction.
Watch us on YouTube, you guys.
Yeah, I won't keep providing the closed captions for all the visuals. We have our first Believe Limited all hands meeting in June, where the whole staff is getting together for a day and a half of adventure.
A few weeks ago, it was announced on LinkedIn, we hired 5 people.
That's a lot of people for a company of our size.
And I wish Rob were here. Do you know how many total employees we have?
20.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we are a 20-person company.
I think sometimes we forget, especially in the bleeding disorder community, because we started out so scrappy and small. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you are a direct member of the community, that we only do this, or we're an advocacy organization, when in truth, Believe Limited has really grown into a phenomenal production agency that really packaged what we did in hemophilia, and we do that now in other disease states. We have a very strong podcast arm, very strong live event arm, very strong documentary film and video arm, and it's been a really big, cool year for us, I can say. I bet you can put words to it even more. And we had to hire 5 new people, and already we've hired ringers. They're all wonderful. And already they're like working, like we're busy.
Yeah, we tend to throw people right into the fire.
Yeah.
But this will be the first time that this group as a group has been together. We've done company-wide meetings, but it's been years, and the company's changed dramatically since the last time we did.
We have a few remote people.
So having everybody under one roof will be a unique opportunity for us to, connect, do a little bit of work, have a little bit of fun. But I'm really looking forward to it, and it's one of the things that June is rapidly upon us here. It's been in the calendar for a little minute, but now it's actually like imminent.
I know. I'm in charge of planning some stuff, like, team building. And I think my number one team building exercise is everyone gets to go around and tell what their favorite Taylor Swift song is.
Oh, good. Something everyone can relate to.
Could you imagine? Keith and David are in the booth right now being like, oh, man.
Yeah, we should have known. We were due for a Taylor Swift reference, so we really should have prepared better for this. Anyway, this can all be cut. So yeah, we got that first meeting on the book, and then we got our travel for shoots and events. And are you anticipating any particular event or travel related shoot this early summer?
It's going to be a busy summer. Summers are always live event summers. So we typically, school.
A lot of our live events are with
breaks.
Young people, so it's kind of built around school breaks.
Yep. So we have a lot of live events. We have a couple new live events coming up. We have some live podcast recordings, and then our documentary teams are go.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So we have a couple crews going out all over, and then we have one more WFH trip, which is great, which will be in Morocco. So one of our crews will be going to Morocco, and I'm looking forward to hearing about that with Assad, the greatest human of all time in WFH.
Love a good Assad. I was on a call with Assad earlier today.
Love him so much.
Yeah, I have no idea where he was. He was like in a bunker. I didn't even bother to ask. I was just like, he could be anywhere. And it doesn't matter because he'll be somewhere else tomorrow.
I love him so much. His favorite restaurant is Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he calls it Kentucky.
For short, because he's familiar. Yeah, he's very familiar with it.
Great human.
Yeah, we've got a lot of travel, a lot of shoots, a lot of opportunity to make some great things happen this summer. And of course, we'll continue talking about it here on the BloodStream podcast.
Go Believe Limited team.
But I'm anxious to get into this interview that you did with Maia. I don't want you to necessarily have to step on what we're about to hear, but what can you tell us about your impressions of Maia Meier and this Elevate Her program that we're about to get into?
Well, Maia's from Canada, which is awesome, and she has VWD, and she, it's so funny. Her experience actually mirrors Chris Bombadier's, kind of eerily a little bit. And she'll get into that, but she has always been outdoorsy, always been active, and slowly got into mountaineering and loved it, really, really loved it. And then started to connect the dots a little bit about wanting to make a difference, wanting to raise awareness, and particularly for women and girls with bleeding disorders. And the thing that I deeply respect about it is, we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about this with the Dismissed, our documentary about women and girls with bleeding disorders, that this truly is the issue of our time. And it's still getting itself, situated. Women are not within clinical trials for bleeding disorder drugs in the numbers that they could be. There aren't trials specifically for women. How is that set up? Do we look at, is someone going to be scrappy enough to, want to study hormones and how that affects your bleeding disorder, how that affects your treatment? Where will the funding come from that? Where will the backing come from that? Where will the women be? Will the women show up? It's always a thing, not to put it on them, but it's always a thing, when you're designing clinical trials. So there's a long ramp to go, and awareness is always a good thing. And I was really impressed talking to Maia. I was really impressed with how she put her campaign together. I'm very impressed in how she has, she has brought in a collection of organizations that she's raising money for. She's partnering with a collection of organizations. Her first climb here is going to be Mont Blanc, which is on the European continent. And she's partnering with EHC, the European Hemophilia Consortium. Very impressed with what she's doing. Very impressed with what she's doing online. You really have to sell yourself online. And so she has a cool story, and it's worth a follow, and it's worth an engagement, if you will.
Well, I will. And we'll start the engagement right now with the interview of Maia Meier.
Y'all, I am so excited about our next guest. I am with Maia Meier. She has recently launched Project Elevate Her, which is a global multi-year initiative with just nerd things everywhere. Women with bleeding disorders climbing those 7 summits. I'm just so excited to speak to you. You are a clinical exercise psychologist, which is so cool. And then, of course, an endurance athlete, and you're living with von Willebrand's disease. welcome to the show. I'm like getting goosebumps talking about it. I'm so excited to talk about this project. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about it and share it with you guys. So thank you.
Okay, well, let's get nerdy. Tell us a little bit. Tell us about Project Elevate Her. Where did the idea come from? And what's the mission? What are you doing?
You bet. So like you said, it's a global multi-year initiative. So my goal is to climb the 7 summits, but I'm really using them as a platform to bring visibility to women and girls living with bleeding disorders. So my overall outcome with this and my goal, I guess, is to really improve the quality of life with women who are living with bleeding disorders globally. And by really, accelerating diagnosis and access to appropriate care and treatment, because that's still really lacking. So
it is really lacking. This is, I think one of the things we've talked about on the show, and just, I know it is an issue that has like grown in visibility and awareness over the last, really, if you think about it, only like the last 3 years. I know there's been rumblings for a long time, but really truly ramping up. But Patrick and I have really, I think even especially last year, I think we were really confounded with like, this is the issue of our time. This is the issue of our generation, our time. It is so lacking, clinical trial data and involvement and awareness is so lacking. Treatment is lacking. Diagnosis is lacking. So anyway, hats off to you. To take it back a little bit personally, what's your personal connection to the bleeding disorders community, and what is your story with VWD and treatment, diagnosis, all the things?
I think that's, what really kind of got me going into this project in the first place. So I've grown up with von Willebrand's type 2A. I was diagnosed really young, actually, as a child. So I've grown up with the disorder. I have a pretty strong family history. So we were tested younger. But even through that, it's taken a lot of years of figuring it out and how to manage it better. And even over the last 5 years of my own life, I feel like my bleeding disorders changed and the way it's presenting is different. And I'm having to manage that in a different way. So it's just, kind of taking this look through this different lens and being like, okay, if I'm struggling in these ways, I know there's other people struggling too. And if you haven't even gotten a diagnosis yet, I think that's even a bigger issue because, you've had things happening, you just don't know what to do about it and you don't know how to manage it. So that's kind of what brought this into it. I've really taken a big liking to climbing big mountains in the last 5 years. And I just wanted to do something where I'm combining the two. And that's kind of how Project Elevate Her came together.
What's the reality right now for women with bleeding disorders? Maybe that people still don't understand. I know we have an audience that, is aware, but maybe some don't. What's the reality right now?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is that symptoms are really normalized. So heavy menstrual bleeding is a huge issue for women with bleeding disorders and pain. And often these just kind of get, oh, you're a woman, this is just what happens, right? Or it's your family is like that, so this is just how we are, that sort of thing. And so that leads to just going without any kind of diagnosis or you're just not taken seriously when you're going in to seek help. And that wears on people over time. And, people stop seeking help and just trying to deal with it on their own.
Right. Absolutely. So why mountaineering? Why was mountaineering like the thing, the drive?
So I think, mountaineering, it helps really create a big contrast. So like you mentioned at the start, we're taking something that's kind of invisible, like bleeding disorders in women. It's not really recognized very well. And we're placing it into one of the most extreme and visible environments that's out there. So, so it's really forcing the conversation in a way that maybe a traditional campaign wouldn't do. And it allows reach beyond our own community in the bleeding, space.
I agree. That was kind of a mission of Chris Bombadier's, 7 Summits campaign as well, for global diagnosis, global awareness. And it really is true. I mean, it was like the first thing to really pop through to that larger audience in a while. So hats off to you. Hats off. Something that's cool. This, something that I think is like, it's like, yes, women rule. First of all, the campaign is so brilliantly outlined, and you've created partnerships. At least the most visual partnership that I see is with EHC, which was the European Hemophilia Consortium. Is that correct? Is it the consortium?
Yes, that's correct.
Which I think is wonderful. And you guys have themes. You have just like richly, very clearly outlaid, like what this campaign is. One of the themes is diagnosis changes everything, which I think is fantastic.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how that came to be, how you'll thread that theme throughout your climbs. Will it be just the beginning? Tell me a little bit about diagnosis changes everything.
Yeah. So exactly. Each of the climbs throughout the 3 years is going to be in different regions, obviously. And so with each region, we're working with a different organization. So the first one is Mont Blanc, which we're working with EHC. I'm really glad to be doing that. And we're trying to highlight, a different theme in each of these regions, because often different regions have different issues that they're struggling with. Diagnosis is more of a broader issue, though, definitely. But we're trying to kind of highlight those different themes across the region. So diagnosis will definitely thread throughout all of them, because I think, as we're trying to reach the broader community as well, we're trying to reach people who are undiagnosed. So definitely that's going to fall into there. But I think, on a broader scale, we're also looking at just that visibility and improving the outcome overall. So diagnosis is kind of like our starting point and our launching point. But then from there, like you say, it's just the beginning. So we're going to expand upon that.
Oh, so cool. You mentioned three years. Are you going to do all 7 in the 3?
Yeah,
that's
so
the attempt.
Yes,
Queen.
The project. So obviously, the awareness campaign is huge, but on another level of this campaign is also the goal to become the first woman with a bleeding disorder to complete the 7 summits.
Yeah.
So the goal is to complete them all within the 3 years, and also is to be the second Canadian woman to actually complete both 7 summits lists and ski to the South Pole. So ski the last degree. That's going to be
cool.
tacking that in there too.
Tell me about how your love of mountains and mountaineering began, and kind of what's your love of it? What is your experience on the mountain?
Mm-hmm. So I've always led a pretty active life and been involved in sports and coaching and different things like that. And I'm an exercise physiologist, so I work in the fitness and health industry. And I'm always kind of looking for new challenges physically. So my partner and I actually were talking a few years ago about Kilimanjaro, and we were like, have you ever wanted to climb Kilimanjaro? And we're both sort of like, yeah, that'd be really cool. And so we just started looking it up, and we're like, you know what, let's do it. And so we just, booked in with a company and started training and working towards it. And then we did that climb in 2023. And I finished it and was like, this is my thing. I just loved it. I couldn't wait to do another one. And so since then, I've climbed Mount Fuji in Japan. I've done Aconcagua, which is the second of my 7 summits that I've completed in Argentina. And then this past fall, I did Everest Base Camp Trek and another mountain there called Island Peak. So it's, I fell in love with it, and the whole process of the training and the push mentally, I think, that you also have to do, that drives me. So I just, I really love it.
Oh, I love that. I've always thought, I grew up in Colorado, and so we had,
amazing.
Colorado boasts, the most 14,000 foot
Yes.
peaks, and it's a huge, it's a huge thing, very super
the
cool.
14ers, yeah.
And I don't know, I poo-pooed it for so long, and then I kind of got hooked too. And the thing that I always loved about it was there's always a moment where I was like, this is horrible. This is horrible. I feel horrible. This
True.
is stupid. I hate this. Why? And it's just just tiny steps. You just it's just tiny steps. Really, truly, out behind. Mountaineering is just tiny steps. And I've always loved that metaphor of always hating it at some point and pushing through your mind, pushing through your body, pushing through the feelings of like, I could just stop, and you don't. For some reason, you just like don't.
100%.
And then that feeling of making it to the top, it is such a powerful metaphor for life. Not to be sappy.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Because there's that point, like you say, where you feel like, why am I doing this to myself? And you've been maybe out on the mountain for a week and a half, and you're like, what am I doing? And I'm freezing cold, and But then you're like, no, I can do this, you know? And you just, like you say, it's one step in front of the other. And I remember on a couple of mountains, just kind of getting to that point where it's just a mantra you're repeating in your head, and you're just saying to yourself, I'm strong, I'm capable, I can do this. And I just said it like over and over, because it's just what kept me moving forward and going and getting there.
I love that. Okay, so Mont Blanc is first, and that is in mid-June. Is that correct?
That is, yes. It's coming up on June 17th.
Okay. So how can we follow it? How can we follow you? And what does meaningful support look like? Like, what can we do?
Yeah, for sure. So you can follow the campaign on socials. You can follow my Instagram at Maia Letitia, but also on the website at projectelevateher.com. And I'll be posting updates there. I'm also going to have a link on that page to track actually along with my garments. So you can see where I'm at on the mountain, where I'm, headed that day, and where I've gone so far. So there'll be updates there, which is amazing. So yeah, definitely encourage everyone to follow along. And support is really just like sharing about this campaign, spread the word. Feel free to share any of my posts, as well as just if you're interested in donating, you can donate through the website as well. The link is there also. All of the funds raised are going directly to these 5 charitable organizations, and it's going to be divided up amongst them. So the funds are going directly towards women and girls programming, treatment and care initiatives, and all of that aspect.
Oh, that is so cool. What are the other organizations? And I know they will be, connected to your other climbs. So tell us about the other organizations in the other mountains that are coming up.
You bet. So the 5 organizations are the World Federation of Hemophilia, so WFH, which is great, and EHC, as we talked about as well. So they're helping with the Mont Blanc campaign, as well as Elbrus when that comes up next year. And then we also have NBDF in the US and CHS in Canada. So they're going to be helping out with the Denali climb, which is exciting. And then there's also Hemophilia Foundation Australia, and we're linking with them for the climb in Australia, as well as another climb in Papua New Guinea. So is that 5? Did I miss anyone?
Are you going to do Everest? Are you going to do the biggie? Are you going to do Everest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm doing Everest as well. So yeah, so WFH is helping obviously with some of the, Everest and Antarctica as well, because we don't have people there, but still going there.
That's so cool. That's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being on the show today and telling us about this. I hope you come back on and give us updates and things. We can't wait to cheer you on.
Thank listeners, you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to have all of that information in the show notes, a website, IG, where you can follow the Mont Blanc climb as well as future climbs. We're so excited for you. Rah, rah, and let's go. Let's raise awareness and money for those women and girls. Let's do it.
Well, thank you to Maia for joining the show today. I have to say, as though the 7 summits weren't enough, I love the fact that this plan also includes skiing to the South Pole.
Heck yes!
Because it's not enough to climb the highest mountain on every continent.
100%.
You have to prove yourself.
You have to prove yourself.
Hey, Chris never did that part. Just gonna say, bombs.
We're just gonna say, as 2 of your closest friends.
So, not to say you came up short, but Maia's doing the full thing. So thanks again, Maia, for joining the program. Thanks again to Takeda for being the presenting sponsor of the BloodStream podcast, bleedingdisorders.com, to learn more. We could not produce this show without your support, Takeda, and we are grateful for it. All right, Amy, our next episode comes out June 12th. What can the listeners expect on June 12th?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I kind of made a stink about how we've had all these physicians coming on to talk about paradigm shifts in treatment for hemophilia and for other bleeding disorders. And I was like, where are the nurses? Why haven't we gotten the nurses on here? The nurses are the ones that run everything. Like, what do they think? So anyway, I got one of our beloved hemophilia nurses on, Joe Stanko from New York. He is a nurse practitioner, so he's expertly positioned to really talk about, I think, kind of the psychosocial element of all of these different things, but also the very clinical element of all of these new treatments. Had a phenomenal, very candid discussion with him about all of these new treatments, what his thoughts are, what we should be thinking as patients when we're thinking about doing research, asking our physicians about, is this right for me? Loved my conversation with him, and you will hear it on June 12th.
Fantastic. Wow, great plug. June 12th. Keep an eye and an ear out for that. And with that, that is all for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the BloodStream podcast wherever you listen to have the next episode delivered to you the moment it goes live.
And as always, email us at mailbag@bloodstreammedia.com to inquire about casting opportunities for the podcast or Believe Limited's films. And guess what? We're all on social media. BloodStream, Patrick, me, all of us. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know. Give us a shout out.
I am your host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I'm your other host, Amy Board.
And until next time, take self-care of yourself. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.